David Erfle of JuniorMinerJunkie.com is here to talk about election outcomes' impacts on the price of gold. David, it's so good to see you again. As you know, last time in 2016, the price of gold fell following Trump's win. The question on everyone's mind this year is what will happen to gold either way?
That's a great question, David. Thanks again for having me on. The last election, we had the miners leading gold lower into that election. So, the miners are a predictive indicator a lot of times in this sector, and that because as they lead the metals in both directions. But and last time we have a lot of similarities with the last election as well, where we had Hillary Clinton way ahead in the polls, everybody expecting a Hillary Clinton win, and then we had Trump pull out that huge surprise victory, and the gold price really tanked. So, but also there's a lot of differences between the last election and this one. During the last election, the gold price was in the process of what would become a huge six-year base before breaking out, and now that we've had that breakout, we also do not know, once we do have an election result, will either side accept the election result? There's been a lot of rhetoric from both sides saying they will not accept the outcome due to the hot potato of the mail-in election votes. So a lot of these mail-in votes, Trump has come out and said that the election's basically rigged and he won't accept the result. And I know that we've had Hillary Clinton advise on the other side to Biden not to make a concession speech if he loses the election. So I would not be surprised to see the volatility in the gold price continue long after the election result has been cast, because we might not even know who the president is until December or January, and it might not be decided until it goes through a Supreme Court decision. So lots of uncertainty during lots more uncertainty during this election.
I think one of the central trends last time in 2016 was a strengthening dollar in the first month after Trump was inaugurated, and that's what caused gold to fall. Now, this time I've talked to several analysts, and the consensus seems to me that stimulus is going to happen either way. If Trump wins, we're going to get stimulus. If Biden wins, we're going to get possibly even more stimulus. Both of these outcomes would weigh down on the dollar, which may bring up gold prices. What do you think?
Well, I think the market's pricing in a blue wave here already. So that might already be priced in. We really don't know. And bringing up the dollar, if you take a look at the long-term chart of the dollar, its uptrend from its low in 2011 was broken when gold price got above 2,000. And now that downtrend, that uptrend line has been back tested and has reversed lower. This stimulus has become a real political football here, and the gold price has been very schizophrenic since last week when Trump pulled the flip-flop, saying that he would not negotiate until after the election, and then a few hours later coming out saying we need to go big. So, and we had Pelosi come out earlier this week and say, even 1.8 trillion is not enough. So we don't want to negotiate anymore for the rest of this week. So it's become a real hot potato, the stimulus. So and meanwhile, the gold price continues to vacillate around the 1920 level, which is a very key level, David, because this is the price that gold ran to during the parabolic decline, move higher in 2011 when it hit 1920 to 1925 area. So that level is a very key level here, and it's back tested it and gone above it this week, and now it's gone back below it, and it's very difficult to be a trader right now.
The 2011 high was very briefly sustained. Do you think we're going to see a major pullback into another bear trend like we saw in 2011?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question right now. Is that 1850 level going to hold, or is the 1750 to 1800 level going to come into play? And if you take a big step back and look at the monthly chart of gold, it's still very overbought, and a move down to that 1750, 1800 level would actually be very healthy for the longer term bull market. And that 200-day moving average now is creeped up over 1750. So if we do get some more chop here, and if the gold price loses if we see a close below 1865, then I think that might usher in that 1800 level. And then on the upside, I'd like to see a close above 1950.
Okay, let's go back to the election now and talk about one of the key drivers for gold prices, which is inflation. Can you break down what you think will happen to inflation if, let's say, Trump wins versus a Biden victory?
Well, I think it's more like inflation expectations. You know, the inflation expectations would be higher if there was this blue wave victory where we had the House, the Senate, and the White House all taken by the Democrats, which is what the polls are showing pretty much right now. But we can't really put a lot of faith in those polls, David, just like in 2016. So I think inflation expectations would ramp up higher if the Democrats would sweep, and you'd also see the CRB index spike higher.
Okay, so if the markets are already pricing in a blue wave victory, let's suppose Trump wins and catches everyone off by surprise, what's going to happen to the dollar? What's going to happen to gold right away?
I think the only way, I think you'd see a strong move lower in the gold price, but only if it was not contested. If they basically pretty much came out and conceded right away, just like Hillary Clinton did during the last election. But I really don't see that happening. I mean, like I said, this mail-in voting situation has become a real hot potato.
Now, you mentioned something really interesting at the beginning of the interview, which is that mining companies are a leading indicator for gold prices. Now, personally, I've never heard that before. I've always known that they've had a strong correlation with each other, but never that mining companies lead gold prices. Can you explain how that works?
Oh, sure. It's the miner action usually leads the gold price, and usually if you see silver leading and the miners leading the gold price higher, that's a very bullish situation. And it goes the opposite in a down move. The miners usually take control on the upside or the downside to lead a trend.
Well, David, you would think that the gold bullion is more heavily traded than gold mining companies. So why is it that investors will be moving gold miners first before the bullion?
Well, the stock market's a forward-leading indicator, and smart money will get into the miners when they realize that gold is about to make a strong move.
So, David, then why do you think that gold mining companies have a high beta to the bullion? In other words, if gold goes up 1%, a gold mining company would go up 2, 3, or many times that number. Why do you think this leverage exists?
Yeah, that leverage exists for the same reason. We're about to see Q3 financials come out in the mining stocks here in a couple of weeks, and the gold price has averaged $1,911 in Q3. So the market's going to expect some very large profits from these major mining companies, and also they're going to be raising their dividends. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the miners start to move up before these earnings reports are released.
All right. So what are expectations in the mining company prices telling you now about expectations for gold prices?
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot is still hinging on this election. As I stated earlier, the gold market's very schizophrenic here. We're not getting any follow through on the downside or the upside here. And it's frustrating traders for the short term. I think it has a lot to do with the election. It has a lot to do with how the election is going to play out in terms of is it going to be a safe transfer of power, a normal transfer of power, or will it be contested? So there's just a lot of different things happening right now that can control the gold price on both on the upside or the downside. So we're getting a lot of chop here. We're getting a lot of schizophrenia.
Perfect. All right, David Erfle, thanks very much for coming on the show today. Appreciate it.
Anytime, Dave. Thanks a lot for having me.
Thank you for watching Kitco News. We'll have much more for you. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification button. And don't forget to download the Gold Live app from Kitco. It has a great resource for live chart updates and analysis. I'm David Lin. Stay tuned for more.